This is the second part of a two-part conversation about one of Gordon Lightfoot's songs. The first part of this episode was released at an earlier date and is available for listening online. I hope you enjoy the conclusion of the conversation between me and my guest. Thank you in advance for listening.
The first guest of the evening is truly a poet. He's an artist. He is a friend and an inspiration to anyone who has ever played the guitar or tried to write poetry. Would you please welcome Gordon Lightfoot?
Now, Mike, may I ask you, what do you think is the age of Miguel? How old?
My sense is that he's a young man, but he's probably not a kid. My sense is that he's in his 20s. And the reason I say that is if he's crossed the river 100 times or more, that takes time. And that means that he's had to learn how to do that. And he's had to build up the courage to do that. We're going to get to his background in a little while. But I also think that if he's any older, he would probably be letting his head do the talking and not his heart do the talking. And this is why I said man in love. It's not sensible to, I'm going to wade across the river and put my life on the line more than 100 times just for this woman. And I think by the time we get to be in our 30s, I kind of hope that we've kind of realized, wait a minute, this may not be the greatest move. So that is my conjecture on how old Miguel is.
Right.
Well, I figure early 20s, maybe.
Right.
Okay, we're in the ballpark then.
Somewhere like, yeah.
He was born to the south in Mexico, they say, so pretty obvious, okay, that he's crossing the Rio Grande. The child of a man who had soon gone away. Now, that's another familiar theme with Lightfoot. Here's a kid who's been raised by a single parent. This happened in Cherokee Bend. This happened in Circle of Steel. It may have happened in other songs. Now, this is not part of Gordon's experience because, of course, he had two parents that were together and who loved him and you know, all of that good stuff. But there is a certain romance. And I'm not trying to say that being a single parent is romantic. I think it's probably the toughest thing that you could ever do. But there is a certain romance in the literature aspect of it. Here's somebody who started with a single mother, just basically not a traditional nuclear family. I can't think of a better way to say it.
I think what he's talking about is his father here, because his father was never there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Although the word father isn't mentioned, but we know what we're talking about here. Yeah.
Because the mother's mentioned in the song, but not his father. So.
Right. The child of a man who had soon gone away, and we don't know why. Either he ran out, which sadly is something that men do in literature and in real life, or this guy might have gone out and fought in a war and been killed. But his mother loved him dearly, and she would take him yearly to the great cathedral in St. Augustine. Now, I immediately thought of the St. Augustine in Florida, which I believe is the oldest European settlement in the Western Hemisphere. I may be wrong on that, but it's certainly one of the oldest. And there is a beautiful cathedral in that city. Where I got caught up with it is that if you're going every year from Mexico to Florida, that ain't cheap. And it wouldn't have been cheap in the setting here, and it wouldn't have been cheap now. Now, I didn't look up to see if there's a St. Augustine in Mexico. There very well might be, although probably, you know, Santa Agustina or something. So is Gordon talking about St. Augustine, Florida?
That's what we think, but
idea, but I have also found out that he said somewhere he stopped doing Miguel in concert because of geographic inaccuracy. But yet, if you figure it out, because he said there wasn't a St. Augustine close enough for them to go to every year, which would make sense.
where they were.
But if you just stop at that point, geographical inaccuracy, him not doing the song, what about the record of Emma Fitzgerald? Where was that bound for?
Yeah. In one of the very first episodes that I did of this podcast, we talked about the artistic license that he used in that. And some of that had changed by the time he passed away. And sometimes the original version of the lyrics were still sticking out there. But I didn't realize that was the reason that he stopped playing it. Now it makes sense that he wanted to be true to the geography. That said, I'm sure most of his audience wouldn't have minded if he kept playing it, the geographical error notwithstanding. I think some people would have said, well, okay, how do we know he's talking about St. Augustine, Florida? We don't. Maybe there used to be one in South Texas or something.
It's actually a St. Augustine Cathedral in Laredo. I found that out today.
Okay,
I didn't know that.
Is there a cathedral there?
Yes, there is.
Maybe that's what we're talking about.
Head of the Catholic diocese in that area of Texas, which maybe Gordon didn't know that at the time either.
Yeah, who knows? The other thing that I think of is that James Taylor did a song back in the 90s called Copper Line, and people were asking him about it, and he said in an interview, no, there is no copper line, except maybe someday will tell me, hey, you know, I'm from Copper Line, Wyoming, or Copper Line, Utah. But he didn't actually go find a place called Copper Line. It was just artistic license again. Oh, my young Miguel, listen to the bell of my poverty. Now, I don't get that. I don't see what the connection is between the bell of a cathedral and her poverty. So why is he making this leap? What's the connection here?
Well, when a church bell chimes, and by the way, that is why I think the guitar was high-strung guitar there, because the guitar at that point really does sound like bells chiming.
Yeah, when Red Shay plays it.
Yeah. But they signal a time, they signal a call to service, they ring when somebody has passed away. It's almost a call to action.
Yeah.
It is a call to action. Either come to church or remember somebody or do something. Don't roll over and go, or mark the time, because a lot of times it'll be used as a clock. It's just, I don't know why it said, listen to the bell of my poverty. Poverty doesn't have anything really to do with bells.
Well, listen to the bell. And then the next line is basically could be, of my poverty, I will never tell.
Maybe you want to get it to rhyme somehow. It's a rhyming thing.
Okay.
I mean, two separate phases.
Yeah.
Phrases, yeah.
Got it.
That's possible, yeah.
Okay, I hadn't thought of that. Of my poverty, I will. So, oh, my young Miguel, listen to the bell, period. Of my poverty, I will never tell, period. So two different thoughts. Now, the call to action, I think, is what comes next. And he cried himself to sleep in the night, and he vowed to make things right. So he took the gun down from the wall, and he paid a call. He knew she'd understand. So he paid a call maybe to a landlord, maybe to a bank, maybe to somebody who has some sort of financial power over his mother.
Yeah.
We don't really know who he's paying a call on, but the fact that he's going with a gun indicates that he's probably not there to play pinochle.
Or could it possibly be he found out who his father was?
It's possible, although I don't know why would Gordon not mention that? That would be the first thing. Yeah. Second, it doesn't really move the story forward. And then third, why would he go to in the middle of the night to see this man and bring himself armed? Is he afraid that his father's going to kill him? I don't know what the connection on that might be.
I wish we had some more answers explaining exactly what Miguel did when he played that life-changing call.
But now we see the consequence of it. Going to do something against the law. And if he wasn't doing that, he wouldn't have brought the gun. A lawman came to capture him. The gun jumped in his hand. So now he's guilty of murder. And he was doing that maybe in the commission of some other crime. So he's now an outlaw for at least one reason, probably two.
We don't know.
We don't know, but I think it's alluded to. So now he is an outlaw, and his vow to make things right is his promise that she, his mother, will not continue to live in abject poverty. She won't tell anybody about it, but he knows. And he feels moved to do something about it, which is why that bell is the call to action. That's why I think, you know, if this was a movie, you'd see the camera zoom in on this kid's face, and his mother's crying about her poverty, and You see the thoughts kind of going around in his head. When I think of this, I think of Robin Hood, who was originally outlawed because he'd poached on the king's deer and also killed a man, or Joaquin Murrieta again, and then Jean Valjean from Les Miserables, who, trying to feed his sister's family, steals a loaf of bread and gets 5 years for it, and then tries to escape and gets more and more tacked onto his sentence. And I don't know how versed Gordon was in the classics, so I don't know if it's derivative. Do either of you know about what his reading habits were?
No, I know he was a fan of movies. The Ghost of Wishing Well came from the Canterbury Ghost movie.
Yeah.
So
Gordon did play in a movie. He was an actor in a movie.
Yeah, I haven't seen that because I've been kind of warned by fans, hey, you're not missing anything if you don't see this flick. You're listening to Carefree Highway Revisited. We'll be right back after a word from a podcast partner or two. Hey, I just wanted to take a second to tell you about my latest podcast discovery. Firebreathing Kittens is an actual play one-shot podcast that plays various tabletop role-playing games with a season-long plot. Because there's a beginning and an end to each week's story, you can start at any episode. Yeah, you won't miss a thing. Every week has a different combination of 4 from the same rotating cast of people. Join Firebreathing Kittens as they solve detective mysteries, attempt comedic banter, and enjoy friendship. That's Firebreathing Kittens podcast. Check it out. One minute, you're a teacher preparing for the new school year. The next, you're transported to a fantastical realm shrouded in forgotten magic. The creatures around you think you're a long-vanished mage. You have no technology. You have no memory of how you got here, and no idea how to get home. All you have is misplaced magic. Haladar, the Last Surveyor, is the new fantasy novel by acclaimed author Rob Perrier. Available now on Amazon.com and robperrier.com. And the child she bore him came on that fateful morning when they sent him to his final rest. And you said that that is a very moving line. Yeah. We don't know what the final rest is. Some people say this is execution because he's been caught and now he's going to be killed by firing squad or whatever. Or it could be the death of the protagonist in the song El Paso, who gets shot while he's writing. It's not a formal execution. He's just been cut down. It's possible that he didn't even know she was pregnant. If he had been captured and imprisoned and away from her, there's no way he could have known that she was pregnant. So I like that sort of mysterious element of it. But we do know that he's gone. He is off the scene at this point.
Yeah.
And then Lightfoot kind of ties the ends together by saying, I will never tell, and I love you so, etc. Yeah. So it's a sweet ending to a sad story.
Yeah, bittersweet.
Yeah, that's what makes the song unique.
It's bittersweet in the same way that The Last Time I Saw Her was. Obviously, it's a much more sweeping song, but there's a sweetness, but there's also the knowledge that this person is out of his life, whether by death or by separation, we don't know. I had the same feeling when I listened to both of those songs. Well, the song originally appeared on Summer Side of Life, and that came out in 1971. It was his 6th original album. It was the 2nd song on the record, which means that a lot of people listened to it, even though it was not released as a single. If he had put it on the flip side, I think we might not even be talking about it because, let's face it, a lot of people back in the days when you had vinyl with 10, 11, 12 tracks on it, a lot of people would just never get to the B-side, which is a shame, but there it is. The album went to number 3 in Canada and number 38 in the US. So that's more of a dent than he'd had before in the charts. Obviously, once you get Summertime Dream and Sundown, all bets are off. but it shows he's making progress. It went to 40 in Australia, did not chart in the UK, and that's a phenomenon I'm going to examine at some point on this show, is that why didn't Lightfoot score better in the UK or more consistently well in the UK? My favorite musical aspect of the song, and Erin, you kind of alluded to this, the fills that Red is playing, they do have a Latin influence, but they also kind of transcend that. This is not just Spanish guitar. This is not just the baile folklorico that you'd hear about in Mexico. I mean, you can hear echoes of Ventura Highway by America. It's not locked in any one genre. And if it was just the Latin part of it, then I probably would not have liked the song quite as much. But Red was such a great musician. He was able to throw other elements in there. So that's my favorite musical aspect of the song. My guess is yours is going to be similar, but what's your favorite aspect of it?
Well, I'd say the guitars and the melody and the way it was played. It was just beautiful.
If you have a chance to watch a BBC clip of it, you really see how he's doing when Red comes in and does the fills, but also, and at first I thought it was really, why did they do that? But if they focus a lot on Rick playing bass on it, and he is, wow, a note here, a note there. He is very active in it. And you can tell he's running up and down the scale.
Yes, he is. More so than normal. It just all goes together.
And it sounds about as contrived as a rainstorm. It seems so natural. And of course, they worked on it. I have no idea how many takes it took to get that song, but they worked at it. This was not something like jamming and somebody happens to have the tape recorder going and then all of a sudden you realize, hey, we've got something. No, they really worked on it. Now, we do have to give some credit. Kevin, you may know this better than I, but Red is most likely the one who's doing the fills, but there were at least two other guitarists that were listed in the album credits. I don't know if there were any listings for the specific songs in anything that you have, but the other two guys that were mentioned in the album were Jerry Shook on guitar, and he is a Nashville session man, and he runs a studio called Shook's Shack. He's still around. I guess he's still working today. And then the other person that played on the record was Chip Young, and he was a producer and guitarist, and he passed away in 2014. So I'm certainly not denying that it was most likely Red, but in the interest of fairness, I wanted to talk about those two guys also, because we don't know for certain who was sitting down and playing that day.
And did you know Jerry Shook was a guitarist in the Elvis band as well?
Yeah, I think I had heard that.
Yes, he was.
And then, of course, Rick is in fact playing bass, so there's no doubt that he was the one who played that.
I have a friend who was a Nashville producer engineer, and he's trying to get some more notes on the recording sessions for us.
Well, put him in touch with me because I'd really like to talk to him. Now, we kind of ran ahead of this, but he only played the song in concert 4 times. And if he did stop playing it because of the geographical error, then that explains why he didn't play it more than 4 times. But the first time he ever played it in concert apparently was at the Royal Albert Hall in London, which I guess is where this concert was recorded on the BBC. And then the last time was in November 1974 at the University of Maryland. And that's it. He never picked it up again. I know he wanted to be very accurate with his writing, and I respect the fact that he discontinued it maybe for that reason. I would certainly not have minded if he'd kept going and playing that, because if there is, in fact, that St. Augustine in or near Laredo, Texas, then problem solved. But that's Monday morning quarterbacking, I guess. I can't find any official covers of this.
There is a couple of them. One was covered by J.R. Taylor and Rod McCormick. And we even listened to it last night. Rod McCormick, he's pretty good.
I had not heard of that. And then I couldn't find anything on GordonLightfoot.com.
I found it on another Gordon Lightfoot site. I can't tell exactly which one.
Is there anybody else that you think could do justice to this song, or is it one that it's been established as being a beautiful song, so nobody should touch it?
Well, we thought Kenny Rogers or maybe Susie Boggess.
Sure, yeah. Hey, Hey, Cinderella and all that.
Of course, she had a big hit with Gordon's friend's song, Ian Tyson, Someday Soon.
Yeah,
that was a
Someday
big hit.
Soon was a very good one with her.
Has Susie Boggess ever covered any Lightfoot songs?
No.
I don't think
she
so.
hasn't.
Well, pass the word along that maybe she ought to do this one.
Yes,
I think so.
we may go see her in a couple months. One reason with Kenny Rogers, we were thinking of that was because of the success she had with The Gambler, Cover the County, and stuff like that.
You know, if there was I think that would be somebody that I'd think about doing it. Willie Nelson would be another. I can hear it being done by a country act.
Yeah.
And then the only other person, and I just thought of this, who unfortunately not with us anymore, would have been Nancy Griffith.
It's one thing having a male sing it, and a female can bring a whole different perspective to it.
Totally. Well, Kevin and Erin, as we're kind of winding down here, any sort of parting shots?
It's just been a pleasure doing this again with you, Mike. It really is.
There are hits, and there are songs that should be hits. And the hits aren't always the best songs on the album. We have done a couple songs that have been deeper cuts. You and I have. The Mother of Miner's Child, which is simply tremendous. And Miguel is absolutely tremendous.
And they didn't put it out as a single. I guess I understand why, because it didn't have a pop flavor to it. It is a story song, and it demands your attention. Lyrically, it demands your attention. I imagine it's pretty much the same now, but I think that certainly in 1970, 1971, the people who were buying these records probably didn't want to sit down, listen to this very carefully. They wanted something that they could kind of groove to, that was good ambiance, that it had a beat to it, et cetera, et cetera. That being said, I don't know if I would have released it as a single, but I would have maybe had it as a double A side.
And that was just like American bands. Oh, you can dance to it. Well, not to this one.
No.
That's when you sit down and listen.
That's right. Kevin and Erin, I can honestly say there is no one I know who is better informed on Gordon's music than you two. So anytime I get a chance to hang out and to talk about the man's music, it is a real treat.
Well, definitely, yes, we will.
Always very enjoyable. I hope you enjoyed it as well.
Enjoyable, yes.
Well, our next episode will feature Adele Chalifoux, who has been on the show several times before, and I'll let you know how many times when we're together. And she and I will be discussing Softly from the 1967 The Way I Feel album. So until then, for Kevin and Erin Hester, this is Mike Messner reminding you, run for the roses, but don't forget to stop and smell them. We'll see you next time.